Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm happy you're here today because we're diving into a topic that often sparks confusion, frustration, and sometimes even defensiveness. Why do some women seem to have such negative attitudes toward men? Let's start by setting one thing straight. This isn't about universal hatred or painting all women with the same brush. In reality, what might come across as man-hating is more often a reflection of more profound frustration. Frustration rooted in unmet expectations, personal disappointments, or the weight of societal pressures that have gone unaddressed for far too long. As men, it's easy to feel misunderstood, criticized, or even unfairly judged. But instead of seeing this as an attack, what if we approached it as an opportunity? It is an opportunity to listen more closely, to reflect more honestly, and to take meaningful action. Not just to improve our relationships with women, but to grow into more confident, thoughtful, and emotionally intelligent individuals. This video isn't about blame. It's about building awareness, bridging the divide, and learning to move forward respectfully. So, stay with me through the end. We will explore what's behind this disconnect and how men can take small but powerful steps towards stronger, healthier relationships. Let's get started. When a woman seems guarded, cold, or emotionally unavailable, many men instinctively take it as a personal rejection. They read her hesitation as disinterest or even disrespect. But often, what you're seeing isn't about you at all. It echoes experiences she's carried the weight of long before you arrived, and unless a man understands the roots of that resistance, he'll mistake protection for offense and miss the deeper story unfolding beneath the surface. Modern women carry a complex weight. They've been raised in a world that tells them to be everything, firm but soft, successful but nurturing, independent but open to love. The bar keeps rising, but the support doesn't always follow. She is expected to show up fully in every role without faltering, and while she's adapting and expanding, many men are still finding their way through these changes. That gap between what she's striving for and what she receives can quietly build frustration. When a woman feels unseen or unsupported, resentment often doesn't explode. It accumulates. It weaves itself into how she speaks, how she withdraws, and how she stops believing that her emotional needs will be met. Then there's the story the world tells her about men. The media plays a more significant role than we like to admit. Social platforms, movies, and online conversations are filled with narratives about male unreliability, emotional unavailability, and selfishness. It may not reflect who you are, but shapes how she's been conditioned to interpret male behavior. When she's repeatedly told that men can't be trusted or don't care enough, she starts looking for the red flags before the green ones ever get a chance. And beneath all that are the personal wounds, the betrayals, the broken promises, and the emotional neglect that taught her to brace instead of trust. She might not talk about it, but the silence around her past is rarely empty. Sometimes she flinches, not because of what you said, but because of what someone else said and never took back. Sometimes she hesitates not because you failed, but because someone else did, and she still carries the lesson. So when you feel her pull away or shut down, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's memory, sometimes it's survival. While you are not responsible for healing everything that came before you, understanding that pain can change how you show up. You can stop taking her resistance as a reflection of your value and start seeing it as a reflection of her history. That doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or shrinking to avoid conflict. Boundaries matter. But there's wisdom in remembering that empathy isn't a weakness. It's clarity. Clarity that allows you to say, "This isn't about me," while still showing up with strength. Because if she's built walls, they weren't put there to keep you out, they were built to keep her safe. You might not tear them down if you understand that the right way. You might walk alongside them long enough for her to open a door. As the saying goes, the strongest men don't break walls, they wait for the trust that opens them. And in relationships that last, it's not always the loudest moves that matter most. It's the quiet understanding that lets someone feel safe enough to stop defending and start connecting. And then, in that silence, a question is often forgotten. What about me? The pain does not always come from what she did or did not do. Sometimes, what haunts us the most is what we have not faced within ourselves. There are times, amid growing distance, or after an argument that goes nowhere, a very real moment will appear, a mirror silently held up, not to look at her, but to look back at ourselves. The critical question is no longer what did she do wrong, but could I have been different? Many women don't leave because they've stopped loving. They leave because they feel unseen, unheard, or emotionally unsupported. Over time, the woman who once laughed easily in your presence grows quiet. Not out of anger, but because she no longer feels like what she says carries weight. Not because you don't love her, but because the love that isn't expressed through attention, curiosity, and shared responsibility begins to feel hollow. And it's often the absence of small efforts, not the presence of significant mistakes, that slowly shifts her trust away. Listening is one of the most misunderstood forms of connection. Too often, men hear her words but miss the meaning behind them. We listen to solve, not to understand. We hear the surface, not the emotion. But when a woman opens up, she's not always asking for a solution. Sometimes, she's just asking you to sit with her in what she's feeling. Not to fix, but to witness. That presence builds trust, safety, and emotional closeness. The things women crave most in their relationship. Beyond emotional presence, she often carries the physical and mental load alone. The weight of daily responsibilities, from managing the household to remembering birthdays, from planning meals to soothing hurt feelings, may go unnoticed by many men. Still, they do not go unfelt by women. When these tasks fall on her without support or acknowledgement, it sends a quiet message. Your work is expected, not appreciated. That message wears down even the most resilient love. Challenging outdated ideas about gender roles isn't about surrendering identity, it's about evolving together. A relationship is a partnership, not a performance of tradition. When a man assumes leadership without invitation, or places specific responsibilities solely on her shoulders, he unintentionally creates an imbalance. And imbalance breeds resentment over time, no matter how subtle it begins. Genuine respect shows up in the small moments, letting her finish a thought before replying, in valuing her judgment as equal to yours, in recognizing her contributions without waiting for her to collapse from exhaustion. These quiet acts of recognition matter more than any grand gesture because they show that you see her, not just love her. Ask yourself, not just once, but often, am I contributing to an equal partnership? Not just in what I say, but how I show up, listen, and share the load. The men who do this earn something far more valuable than affection. They earn admiration, and admiration makes a woman stay, even through the hard seasons. A woman doesn't expect perfection. She expects effort. She expects you to care enough to reflect, grow, and meet her halfway. Relationships aren't built by avoiding blame, but by accepting responsibility with grace. And sometimes, the most attractive thing a man can do isn't to impress her, it's to understand her. That understanding starts with a simple, honest question you ask yourself in the mirror. Am I the kind of man I would want my daughter to be with? If the answer challenges you, you're already on the right path. From that understanding, we can overcome prejudices, such as men are the enemy. A woman's frustration with men can feel like a personal attack. Comments like "men are awful" or "all men are the same" can trigger a defensive reaction. However, responding with anger or dismissiveness will only widen the divide. Instead of reacting harshly, step back and understand why she feels that way. It's easy to dismiss these remarks as overgeneralizations or signs of bitterness, but ignore the more profound emotions at play. Women often voice these sentiments after experiencing hurt or disappointment from past relationships or societal pressures. In many cases, it's less about you personally and more about the pain they've experienced. Recognizing that allows you to respond with empathy rather than defensiveness. Ask questions to understand the root of her frustrations and listen without judgment. When she feels heard and validated, it opens the door to a more meaningful dialogue. The key to breaking down the stereotype is showing that you don't fit into the harmful mold through your actions. Reliability is an invaluable trait in this process. Consistency in your words and actions will speak volumes. Be considerate. Small gestures of kindness and respect are powerful ways to prove that you are different from the type of man she may generalize. You don't need to prove anything verbally. Your actions will create trust and build rapport over time. Another crucial aspect is avoiding blaming her for being oversensitive or influenced by feminism. Such responses only deepen the divide and fail to acknowledge the complexity of her feelings. It's essential to recognize that her frustrations are not about you being a man, but about the experiences and societal conditioning that shape her perceptions. Labeling her emotions as overreactions only perpetuates the stereotypes you're trying to dismantle. The process of changing perceptions takes patience. Arguing over her generalizations will not make her feel understood and will only push her further into her defensive stance. Instead, focus on building trust. Let her see through your actions that you value equality, respect, and communication. Over time, she will begin to notice the difference between the men she's encountered and the man who consistently shows up as reliable and caring. And when you don't meet her negative expectations and actively work to show her what absolute respect and partnership look like, you challenge the stereotype at its core. This doesn't happen overnight, but the more you prove your worth through steady and respectful actions, the more she will realize that not all men are the same. Ultimately, it's not about changing her views in one conversation. It's about demonstrating through your actions that you're already on the right path. Through this process, we begin to lay the foundation for building healthy relationships. A lasting relationship is about shared moments or mutual attraction and nurturing an emotional foundation where both partners feel seen, heard, and appreciated. For many men, the challenge lies in expressing love and ensuring that their actions reflect a deep respect for their partner's individuality, needs, and dreams. The key is communication, support, and emotional safety, three essential elements that reduce resentment and contribute to building a strong, resilient relationship over time. First and foremost, open communication is critical. Women value honesty and transparency in a relationship, but it's not just about sharing your thoughts. It's also about listening. Men often think sharing their feelings or concerns is enough, but understanding a partner means engaging in a two-way dialogue where both people feel heard and respected. Speaking openly about your feelings, expectations, and concerns creates a space where both partners feel comfortable expressing themselves. But equally important is actively listening to her emotions without judgment. This isn't about fixing her problems or offering immediate solutions. It's about validating her experience and creating a foundation of trust. The key to this type of communication isn't to win an argument or be right. It's to be authentic, to share from a place of vulnerability, and to listen without the urge to interrupt or problem solve. A relationship based on this kind of open communication fosters trust and intimacy, which are the bedrock of any lasting connection. Equally important is supporting your partner's independence. A woman's passions, career, and hobbies are integral to who she is, and helping them is vital to her sense of self-worth. When you acknowledge her ambitions and celebrate her achievements, you create a partnership built on mutual respect, not competition. Supporting her independence doesn't mean distancing yourself or minimizing your connection. It means showing genuine interest in the things that matter to her and allowing her the freedom to grow in her own space. Whether cheering her on in her career or simply respecting her need for personal time, this support strengthens the relationship by showing that you value her as a person beyond your shared life together. When you feel threatened by her success, it can create an imbalance. But supporting her passions creates harmony and allows both of you to thrive individually and together. A healthy relationship also requires creating a safe emotional space where both partners feel secure. Emotional safety isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about fostering an environment where both people can be vulnerable without fear of judgment or rejection. When a woman feels safe, she's more likely to open up about her deepest fears, dreams, and unmet needs. As a partner, your role is to hold that space for her. This requires being present, listening attentively, and not rushing to offer solutions unless she asks. It means validating her feelings, even if you don't completely understand them. This emotional safety allows her to feel supported during good and challenging times. For example, if your partner is stressed about work or dealing with a personal issue, listen attentively and offer your presence instead of rushing in with solutions or dismissing her concerns. Sometimes a woman needs someone to share her emotional load with, to feel understood and acknowledged. Offering to share household tasks or simply being there to listen without judgment can mean more than any grand gesture or well-intentioned advice. Sometimes the most powerful way to support her isn't to fix the problem, but to be there without trying to change her experience. Building a healthy relationship isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about the small, consistent choices you make to respect, support, and communicate. It's about understanding that the foundation of a strong bond is built not just on the good times, but on how you navigate the challenges together. The relationship flourishes when you create an environment where your partner feels emotionally safe, understood, and appreciated. Trust is built when partners feel valued for who they are, not just what they can do for each other. The emotional intimacy, respect for each other's individuality, and understanding of each other's needs strengthen the relationship in the long run. And through this process, you not only become better partners, you become better people. However, not all efforts are reciprocated, and sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and the other person is to learn to let go. Every relationship has a point when the energy you put in is no longer reciprocated, and the relationship has gone from thriving to merely surviving. It's a quiet realization that creeps in when conversations stop being about connection and become battles. Or worse, when silence is the only response you get, leaving you wondering if you're holding on because you're too afraid to let go. But the truth is, if a woman is consistently hostile or refuses to engage in meaningful dialogue, it may be time to accept that the relationship is beyond saving. Men often fall into the trap of thinking they can fix things. They convince themselves that if they try harder, show more patience, or find a new way to communicate, the relationship will improve. However, the harsh reality is that relationships are not one-sided projects. When one person is unwilling to meet you halfway, the imbalance becomes too significant to ignore. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how hard you try, eventually it slips through your fingers, leaving you with nothing but frustration. Sometimes, the desire to fix someone else can come at the cost of neglecting your needs. Suppose a woman refuses to communicate or consistently shuts down every attempt you make to understand her. In that case, this isn't a reflection of your failure, it's a sign of her unwillingness or inability to engage. A healthy relationship requires effort from both sides, and when only one person is doing all the work, it no longer qualifies as a partnership. It becomes a heavy burden that one person is carrying alone. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual effort, trust, and communication. It's important to understand that every argument or moment of silence isn't necessarily a sign of an unhealthy dynamic, but there comes a point when patterns begin to emerge. If you're always the one making the effort, reaching out, swallowing your frustrations, or continually trying to patch things up, then it's clear that the balance has shifted. The relationship isn't working because it's no longer reciprocal, and that's a painful truth to accept. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means choosing yourself. It means recognizing that your worth isn't tied to someone else's ability or willingness to meet you halfway. Relationships are meant to be an exchange, not a one-sided sacrifice. When only one person is invested, it can drain your energy, leave you feeling unappreciated, and even stifle your personal growth. You deserve a relationship that fuels you and builds you up, not one that leaves you constantly questioning your value. As difficult as it may be to walk away, remember that sometimes the most empowering thing you can do is step away from what no longer serves you. There's no shame in recognizing when it's time to move forward. Walking away doesn't make you a failure, it's an act of self-respect, a powerful statement that your well-being matters more than clinging to a relationship that's no longer healthy. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from what is not meant for you. Walking away, sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from what is not meant for you. By letting go, you create space for growth, healing, and ultimately, a relationship that aligns with your values and efforts. A relationship that allows you both to thrive. Conclusion. The journey to becoming a better version of yourself. Becoming a better man in today's world doesn't mean apologizing for who you are. It means evolving with empathy, awareness, and intentional growth. While some women may express frustration toward men, it's rarely rooted in genuine hatred. It often reflects more profound societal shifts, personal disappointments, and a longing to be seen, heard, and valued as equals. Rather than taking this personally, men can respond with strength, not by being defensive, but by being open, respectful, and committed to becoming someone who builds trust, not tension. The truth is that relationships thrive not on perfection but on mutual respect, patience, and a willingness to learn from one another. You can't control how others see you, but you can shape how you appear in their lives. Being present, listening more, sharing responsibilities, and challenging outdated beliefs. These small actions have a significant impact. They show that you're not just reacting to a changing world, but actively choosing to grow with it. So take this not as a criticism, but as a powerful invitation to become a man who leads with emotional intelligence, integrity, and kindness. Start small, be consistent, stay patient with yourself and others, and most importantly, grow not just for a relationship, but for the man you're becoming. If this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts and personal experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to explore more meaningful insights on relationships, personal growth, and emotional well-being. See you in the next one.